The opinions and views expressed in the following presentation do not necessarily reflect those of GCR Progressive Internet Radio Management, staff, or our affiliates.
Toto? I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Welcome to Mo Banshee's Lair, Visionary Talk Radio on GCR Progressive Internet Radio. We're rocking your world.
And welcome to Mo Banshee's Lair. We're going to give this the good old-fashioned, try again. I'm not going to go through everything. I'm just going to check and make sure everybody can hear me. Animals, thank you. Animals are in big trouble right now with the heat. People keep leaving them in cars. We don't want to do that, people. It is against the law to leave children or animals in cars, in cold or heat. In 15 minutes, a child or an animal is dead when it's 75 degrees out. So don't be doing that. Please report animal abuse. If you see animals being neglected, not being cared for, you see a horse out in the field that's not being maintained, report it. That's your job. You're a human. Let's make the place a better world to live in. I'm not going to do the Crazy But News because we kind of got waylaid by having to reboot tonight. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of the Midwest who have been consistently having their rear ends handed to them by Mother Nature, tornadoes. We understand it. We understand people live in places that are prone, like I live in hurricane areas, and people live in tornadoes, but nobody likes to see the kind of destruction that has happened, and our prayers are with everybody. I hope that the rest of the season calms down for you. I really don't want to see any more destruction or anything like that. So I'm going to bring our guest on, and our guest is Erin Rambeau, and she has written a book, The Werewolf, the Librarian, and I. You can find it on Amazon. And Erin, welcome to the Lair.
Oh, hello. Thank you.
Hello. Now you can speak. Yes. Tell us about yourself, Erin. Can you hear me? Erin?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Yeah. Do you want to tell us about yourself?
Sure. I am 36. I work at a actual library here in Colorado, Fountain, Colorado. I worked there for 10 years now, and my father was in the Army, so we traveled the world. I spent a lot of time in Germany and got to see tons of history in Germany, which I absolutely loved. And I've gone to college, which I didn't finish because I got bored with it. But I spent a lot of my time writing and drawing and basically doing what I do now, just writing and putting my thoughts onto paper. And so I love myself. I think I'm totally awesome, but that's only half the world that thinks that. So I'm trying to get everybody else to think that too.
Okay. How many books? Is this your first book?
This is my first book. It is. I'm now writing the third book in this Werewolf, the Librarian, and I series. So it's moving along, but slowly.
There seems to be a little bit of drag on the audio, so there's not much I can do about that, though. I don't have anything open, so I don't know what to do about it. But your book, The Werewolf, the Librarian, and I, it's kind of a cornucopia of all the mystical creatures on Earth. Why did you not go for just a werewolf or a vampire like we see all these Twinkle and Starlight series and all this stuff that's on TV? You seem to have went for the whole ball of wax.
Yeah, well, originally when I first started the book, it was not actually supposed to be anything about a werewolf or anything. It was originally supposed to be when my boyfriend dumped me, I started writing this book, and it was going to be, haha, I'm famous, I wrote a book, bye. But it turned out that, as I said, I work in a library, I looked around, and I see things differently than everybody else does. And so I wrote the book as I saw people in my life. And I have this huge fascination with werewolves. And so I wrote myself as a werewolf, but all the other characters in it are slightly real people. And it's a lot of the people I work with, like the teen specialist, I see her as half human, half unicorn. And so my manager, I see her as half human, half tree, because she works a lot in her garden and works a lot with the earth and things like that. And so all the characters that were in the book are real people. I just tweaked them to how I see them, and that's how all the characters came about in the book itself. So,
yeah, I you see that all the time. And what is it? That NCIS show on TV where the young kid was writing a book, a mystery, and everyone was based on somebody in the office, Gibbs and Abby and all that, and he just changed the names. He didn't even change the characters, so that I understand that concept. What do your coworkers think about this?
Funny enough, I told them all about the book. I actually wrote it at work, and I hope to God no one's listening to this at work because I'll probably get in trouble, but I wrote it while I was at work, and I would write myself little notes and things like that. But I told everybody at work about it, and I told them where to find it at Amazon.com. No one at work read it. I mean, they all know they're in it, but no one's read it.
Yeah, maybe they just figure leave it alone. You knew I was going to ask this. I already told you about in the very first part of the book, the very first chapter, you explain who you are and that your character, the character telling the story, she's a nympho, right?
That's correct.
Why?
Well, mainly because, and God, this is insane, but I am an nymphomaniac. When my boyfriend originally dumped me, yeah, I went out and, I don't know why, but I went out and had sex with tons of guys. I do it very safely, but I love sex. It's just a huge thing for me. It's just big. And so I thought, okay, the character's gonna be me in this book, so I might as well make her me. And I'm a nymphomaniac, so I might as well just put myself as a nymphomaniac in the book as well. So that's pretty much why.
Yeah, I don't know. When you get dumped by somebody, I'm not sure it's called being a nympho. It's just kind of I'm free, and I'm going to play like the boys. I don't know, but yeah. So tell us about your book because there is all kinds of creatures in it, and you know, are you going to make a sequel to this book?
Oh yeah. The book already has a sequel. It's The Werewolf, the Librarian, and I series. The first book was called The Werewolf, the Librarian, and I. The second book, which is also out, is called WLI, The War. The third book, which won't be out until January of next year, is called WLI, A Bite Harder to Deal With. And I'm gonna keep going with the series because there's a lot of crazy crap that happens in a library that people just have no idea about. And I have a lot of crazy crap that's happened in my life that I would love putting in these books. And I can't wait to show all this to the world. My mind works in the weirdest of ways. And I can create worlds and create just imaginary stuff that I can bring out and share with people and just by putting it in these books. And so it's easier for me to express it in a book than it is in words, just like me talking to somebody. Basically, I think because I can go back and reread it to make sure what I thought I was saying, I actually came out and said correctly, which is really good because since my books are self-published through Amazon, I have to go in and they send me a proof copy. I've got to read it. I've got to make sure everything's correct. All the pictures are right in the right spots. And then I send it back to Amazon. They'll say, yes, it's done. You can, it's okay to release it. But the only problem with being self-published is I also have to self-market, self-advertise, and everything like that. And so I'm the one who has to call, make all the arrangements to do the book signings. I just did a book signing here at the Starfest convention, and there is over 5,000 people there. That's great, but they all walk by looking at you like you're insane. So one of the things we did do was I created a music video for my first book, and I wrote the song, wrote the music, wrote the lyrics, and then I had a company called Urban Yeti Studios film it. And our budget was zero, so it's funny, we bought these little masks from Walmart for like $5, and they're plastic, but it came out awesome because it's mine, and it's something I created, and I just absolutely love it. But we put it on YouTube, and it's at 458 views so far, and we did launch it at the sci-fi convention in the middle of 5,000 people, and so it is just becoming awesome. I am very happy with it, and we're going to try and do another one for the second book, WLI the War, and we are also talking to Rocky Mountain PBS for making what we want to do is create a TV series for The Werewolf, the Librarian, and I. And basically what we're going to do there is we videotape everything down here, all the series and everything, and then we send it to Rocky Mountain PBS, and they air it from there. So that's something that is in my idea pod thing, my head. So that's going to take probably about a year to do, as well as I've got another year to do to get the music video for the second book done, because I want to launch it at Starfest again. I'm also talking to the werewolf, the Wolf Preserve here in Divide, Colorado, to let me go up there and be with the wolves, videotape a little bit with them, and put that in the second music video as well. And so we are getting that together and getting it all worked out and everything. So it's getting really exciting now.
Yeah, let's go back to the process, because the process, I don't know how it works with, with Amazon. I haven't written a book. I've been working on one, but I just, I'm not hungry enough, I guess, to do it. I don't know. But do they, when they edit it, do they say you can't have this in here because you need this person's permission? Did you get a lot of that? Or you can't do this because this might be, somebody might sue us? I mean, how much play do they have in editing it?
Actually, they have none whatsoever. Everything is placed upon me. All they do is go in, bind the book, and send it to me. If, like in the second book, I talk about one of my characters. She's like trying to dress like another character in a Janet Ivanovich book, and I make sure that I put that in there. It's Janet Ivanovich's book, and it is her character. And as long as I'm saying yes, it belongs to someone else, we're good to go, because I'm not taking credit for that. But no, Amazon, their company that does the publishing is called Create Space, and all they do is take your book, you send them it through a PDF file, they bind it, send it back to me, say, is this copy good enough? Do you need to make any changes? I go through it, edit it, make any changes I need. I go back onto their site, say, no, this is good, or no, I need to make these make these changes. And then I say yes or no. If it's good, we're good to go. A lot of times, if I have any problems with it, they will go back and be like, yeah, we can redo it. Here's another proof copy. How's this one? But after I do that, it's all good. I do have to pay like $2.50 per book for them to send those to me for me to sell. And on Amazon, when they sell on Amazon, they send me the royalties from that. So that's how Amazon does it with Create Space. So.
Okay. So let's get into your book. Tell us about some of the characters. You, the main character, ends up becoming a werewolf because of a boyfriend, right?
Correct.
No, nothing Freudian there about how you're mad at your ex-boyfriend, right? This is, that he turned you into a she-wolf. There's none of that there, right?
No.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. He turned me into a bitch.
Funny thing is, with the characters, in book 1, the guy I was dating that I created for the guy that bit me, I had to imagine him because I didn't want him to be my boyfriend at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take one of my ex-boyfriends, add him into that, pretend he, I bite, and then his blood droplets get into my mouth. I had to think of something that hadn't been done before. I'm like, okay, seriously, what's been done? Everything. Well, what if we end up just having sex and his blood just ends up in my mouth? Okay, we'll go with that. That works. But then when I created Connor, I started dating this other guy, and it was perfect. Everything was going great. And then he dumped me, and so I started dating this other guy. So I had to transfer Connor from my ex-boyfriend to my new boyfriend, and I had to create another character for the new guy. It was just becoming very tiresome on how to create all these characters and keep them all straight. Well,
yeah, it's like building a city.
So Connor is basically 2 guys built into one. So poor Connor is like, oh, if you could take 1,500 guys and put them into one guy, that'd probably end up how he'd be this one person. But I did end up in book 2. I end up with someone else, basically because of the war that Connor has to choose a side, and he did not choose mine. And so
okay,
that basically was what really happened. My boyfriend had to choose a side, and he didn't choose mine. So
right, we're going to step back a bit because they're all hung up on the blood in the mouth. Evidently, her character, the star of the book, what is her name?
Aurroara.
Aurroara. She has a boyfriend whom she does not know is a werewolf, or does know, I'm not sure. But he, during an encounter, a kiss, somehow fluids were exchanged, and she turns into a werewolf. And they want to know, are you watching the chat?
No, I'm not. My computer is not working at this point. I don't know why.
Okay, so anyway, they want loads of characters, just sleep with loads of people. That's ghost suggestion on the whole thing. So anyway, the boyfriend turns her into a dog, and that's the way she's got to go through life. And it's all the things that go on. Is this a normal town, or is this like an imaginary town? Because everybody that works there, one is a fairy, and you mean a real fairy with a wand and fairy dust, and one is, like a half something and another, and one's, half horse and that. Is this supposed to be like Harry Potter, a different dimension?
No, this is actually a real town. I wanted to create the actual town I live in Fountain, Colorado, and just make them all weirdos. Well, different characters.
Mhm.
And so that's pretty much what I did. I just took my actual town and made the people as I saw them.
Mhm. Yeah. Because Elf in the chat, Elf Queen, she has bought both of them, the first one and the second one. She reviewed it for me, and said that the first one made her laugh so hard. It's witty, and you, from what I've read of it, you speak like you normally speak. You're not trying to come off a polished. Let's put it this way: a British actor isn't going to read your story the way you're telling it, right? You're pretty much telling the story in your own vernacular, and that seems like it was fun for you.
Oh yeah, my sister's like, Erin, I can't read your book because every time I do, I hear you talking. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. I write the way I think or the way I would talk normally, just because I want, everything to come out correctly, and that's the only way I know how, is to do what I normally do, write the way I normally talk, and that's how it works for me.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a delay, so you might hear a little bit of wobble in Erin's audio, and there's nothing we can do about it, guys. We're going to go to break because Caesar must be paid, and I'm going to bring you back, and we're going to talk some more about your book and your plans for it, and the story. Maybe it'll go to a movie. I don't know, like Twilight or Sparkle or one of those. We'll be right back.
There's no place like home. 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 There's no place like home.
This is Mo inviting you to visit me at my lair. Mo Banshee's Lair Visionary Talk Radio airs every Tuesday night live on GCRinternetradio.com. Tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. Topics A to Z, Mo Banshee's Lair on GCR Internet Radio. We're rocking your world.
Just try to stay out of my way. Just try. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Skeletons in my closet could fill a boneyard. Charlatans can't stop it, trying oh so hard. Working my juju, waving Riri. Don't know what to do. What's happening to me? It's a strange kind of voodoo. I could fly off the handle, just withdraw. Light up holy candles, maybe roll on the floor. Kneel down with Jesus, pray the promised land. Do whatever I please, just try to understand. It's a strange kind of voodoo. It's a strange kind of voodoo. I've never been in love before. I sure feels nice. So bad, so my heart to the junk man, cost my soul a bite back. Out looking for something, filling void so black. Shake my fist at the ceiling, kick the ground in disgust. Can't shake this feeling, don't know who to trust. It's a strange kind of voodoo. It's a strange kind of voodoo. It's a strange
And welcome back to Mo Banshee's Lair, Visionary Talk Radio on GCR. And our guest tonight is Erin Rambeau. I just want to share with everybody that that song was Strange Voodoo by Robert Wagnex. He is a singer-writer. He's also a professor. He's a musician, and you can find him at www.robert, R-O-B-E-R-T, Wagnex, WUAGNEAUX.com. And all our music tonight is by Robert, and I think you guys are really, really, really going to love it. Back to our book. You have it on YouTube, right? There's a YouTube special thing for it, right? And it's on YouTube. They can find it by Googling Animals of the Night, right?
Yes. If you go onto YouTube, just put in Animals of the Night, and then click on the one by Tim Gravlin and Urban Yeti Studios. He was the producer, so he put it on there, and it'll be on there.
And we're asking everybody to share it so that it helps Erin with sales. You're talking about a book 3. Are these long books? How long are these books?
No. The first book was about 100 pages, and the second book I wanted also to be 100 pages, but it came out to be 144. And so the book 3 is going to be about 150 to 200 pages as well, mainly because when I have them bound with CreateSpace, I need a spine that has the title of my book on it, and it has to be over 100 pages for it to do that. And so I'm trying to make it more pages. And so, yeah, it's going to be about 150 to 200 pages.
Well, that's a respectable book for somebody starting out. I mean, Stephen King, a lot of the movies that we see now are from his short story. Stand By Me was a short story called The Body Belongs to Me. So, that's how a lot of authors and got their start with shorter stories. But you're making it into a saga, right? Like is it going to be just a series, a trilogy? How are you going to work it out?
Well, right now it's going to be more than a trilogy. I want it to be a number of series of books, mainly because, God, I've got so much stuff in my life that's happened that I want to put in these books, and I don't want to put it all in one because I don't want to rush everything and make it look like, oh, she's putting it all in one. It's all compounded and it's all, I want to be spread out through the books because there's so much I can put in these books. Like, and one, either 3 or 4, I'm going to tell about how my sister got her butt stuck in Hitler's garage. Because when we were in Germany, we went to see Hitler's castle, or Hitler's house, and we walked down to his garage, and she's like, oh, there's a hole in the garage, and she tried climbing through it, and she got stuck. So...
Oh, gee, thanks, sis. You're going to immortalize me by saying I got my rear end caught in Hitler's garage. How lovely.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't wake up short-sheeted or soap in your bed or ants and cereal in your bed? None of this stuff happens to you?
No, thank God, because she lives in Texas and I live in Colorado.
You better keep it that way. You got to keep it that way. I mean, if I told some stories, I mean, I'm old. If I told some of the stories from my kids, they'd never speak to me, and I'd have to watch my life. Your mother, one of the things that tickled me is not to mention my mother, who thinks she's stalked by a foot fetish freak who loves her shoes. I take it your mother is a shoe freak, a shoe horse.
Oh, no, and that's funny, is that, no, she, like, has one pair of shoes, and that's it. If she can't find her shoes, she thinks either the dog took them, because if the dog didn't take them, then the horse came in and the horse took them. So, she's always losing them, and it's like, Mom, they're over there by the door where you left them. And she's like, no, they're not. Oh, yes, they are, and they're there.
It's pretty cool, yeah. So you're putting Mom in there, and you're giving her a bit of a plug. Synthetic blood figures into your story. I will tell you right now, I don't watch the Sparkle stuff with the vampires. I don't watch any of that. Those shows with Max Iron or any of that stuff. I don't watch any of that. So has no one thought of synthetic blood, or are you the first?
That's a good question. I don't have TV because I don't have the money for cable. So I'm going to go with probably not. The young lady, she was actually living with me, and I was trying to find a way to put her in the book to make her a vampire, but I didn't want her, in the book as, this great big bloodsucker who goes around killing people and, turning them. So I'm like, okay, what can I do that would make her so she wasn't this evil person? Just a funny thing that sits on my couch.
Well, you turned her into you turned her into a 350-pound vampire.
Exactly. Because it really, she would literally sit on my couch and eat gummy bears. And so I'm like, what would make a person eat so many gummy bears? Synthetic blood. Let's go with that.
It's not heart conscious, huh? It's not a healthy treat. That's funny because, if you're picking people who are friends and loved ones, they all want to be seen as, thin and beautiful and exotic and everything, and you haven't done that to any of your friends.
Well, it's really funny that this one person, that the 450-pound vampire, I had made her this character before I found out that she was sleeping with my boyfriend while living with me for 6 months and paying no rent. And so now I feel very happy that I did that to her.
Ghost has a request of me, and I'm going to do it just so I can embarrass the daylights out of him in the chat. He says he loves you.
Oh, well,
he wants me to tell you that. He loves you. I dare you to tell this girl I love her and I want her. So, and he'd be perfect for your book too. He's as weird as it gets. He's a good person to put in your third book.
I do have a website. It's http://erinrambeau.webs.com. .webs.com. So if you want to leave a message on that, you can talk to me there.
Okay. Our other guest is just sending me little notes so that I don't screw her up because I told her we were running a little bit late. The book, so number 3 is coming out. Where are you going with it? Because there's a war, right? What is this? All the vampires and all the werewolves and all these movies and TV shows, they're all having wars. Can't even the weirdos get along? Is that what's going on here?
Oh, heck no, because then there'd be no fun.
Okay, war is fun. I must have missed that part during Vietnam. Silly me.
I know, right? Basically, it's this other tribal werewolf. They're just werewolves, and he wants to take over the world, basically. And me being a new werewolf, I'm like, no, that ain't gonna happen. And so we end up fighting, and the war is in the second book, the WLI, the War. Now, book 3, WLI, A Bite Harder to Deal With, is, it has a lot of, like, how I'm dealing with the war. My boyfriend, that I'm with now, that I'm only with for about another month, he just came back from Afghanistan. And so
oh, my God. Thank you for serving. Thank you for serving, sir.
Actually, that's not up to me. I mean, that is up to him. He's moving back to Florida with his mom, so on him.
Okay, but he just came back, and thank him for serving. That's okay. So he's in the doghouse with you. Okay.
But it also, like, in book 2, I talk about one of my brothers. He's with a zombie, and she.
They had to make the book, didn't they? You had to put a zombie in, right?
Oh, yeah. He is fascinated by zombies. I mean, he's like, the zombie apocalypse has to happen because that's my life. I'm like, so I made his girlfriend a zombie. Yep. He thinks I'm nuts. But she has to inject gold into her body to keep her alive, to keep her human. And so in book 3, I'm also having a wedding where he marries her because he's a dragon. And since dragons love gold, he sees it as, like, his little way of getting high. And so that's another thing we're going to do with the third book is a wedding, as well as the issues of me having to deal with the war. And I'm finally going to choose either Connor or Rio, the 2 men in my life, who I actually want to be with. And so I'm also killing off one of the main characters. Well, one of the characters of book 1 and 2 is going to get killed off in one of the weirdest and most strangest ways you have ever seen. So.
Yeah, you got to step it up a notch because I think all these TV shows they've done it all. I mean, I personally like my vampires to be like Dracula, there's no love there. They're just, it's all an illusion. Your vampires, okay, so these people live in a real town. When people see them, do they look like vampires and half horse, or is there illusion? People see them and they see a real person. How does that work?
Well, in the town, when they see them, they see what they see, like they have the vampires, or they see the half unicorn, half tree. That's like when I worked at the library. When I was human, they saw me as human, and so yeah, the humans live in the town. They see the characters, as they are, and they live with them. They have no problem with them. Nobody's killed anybody as of yet. That's gonna happen probably in book 3 too.
Oh wow, you're just a ray of sunshine.
I know, right? And so there is no shielding, no hiding what these people are. And I didn't see a reason to hide what they were. It's like, we know you're there. We know there's differences in us and in everybody. So you might as well come out and just show it, because that's what's going to happen.
Okay. And do your vampires, they sleep in coffins? Have you changed the mix at all? Can they go out in the daylight?
They still cannot go out in the daylight, but like if it's overcast, you know, and it's raining outside and it's really dark, as long as there's no sunlight, they can go outside. They don't sleep in coffins. Like in book 2, I have a picture of my roommate sleeping in a coffin or on a couch that looks like a coffin with gummy bears. They're all her little minions all around her. But no, they don't sleep in coffins. They just sleep in regular beds. They're just regular, kind of like regular humans.
That's funny. With all her minions, the gummy bears. I think that you're a riot, and I'd love to have you on again to talk more about where this series is going. And has any other, I guess the question is, are you willing to put, like, the short stories together into one larger book as you accumulate stories and perhaps get it out and send it to, like, a publishing company? I guess that would be,
I would love to do that. Yeah, like, I've contacted Barnes & Noble and asked them, if they could pick up my book. And the only reason they wouldn't is because the self-publisher is not the self-publisher they wanted, which is kind of odd because, Amazon is huge, but whatever. And the same thing, Walmart and, bigger stores, they will not take it because it is self-published. So I would like to send my books to a publisher and have them take them on. I was thinking about putting together another book of the short stories I've written. Like, I've written one called I Ripper, where Jack the Ripper is a female, and she's killing these women because one of them stuck with her husband, and she just doesn't know which one, so she kills them all. So,
no, that's a way to narrow it down, right? Just kill everybody.
Exactly. And so I've written a lot of other short stories that I would like to put in a book, but the Werewolf, the Librarian, and I series I would like to get published through a publisher. It's just right now they're all asking for like $2,500 to do it. So when I become rich, maybe.
Yeah, it's when they say starving artists, they're not kidding. Most people who write for the first half of their lives, they're struggling, and then by the grace of God, one maybe publication, one one movie, one book, one piece of art finally brings them into recognition, but by then they're a friggin' mess from starving to death for the first 40 years of their life, It's kind of like sad, bring on the money first and then I'll starve later, when I'm old and I don't care, I wish you a lot of luck with this. You're a lot of fun, and I'm gonna put it up on the Asylum. We have one of those Amazon widget thingies there, so I'll put it on there, and if our members want to look through it, they can find it for you. I think that it's funny, reading it is like reading a letter from your sister or something, and or cousin, and saying, you're not going to believe what happened this week. It kind of reads like that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, wait till you hear this, because you do, in the parts that I read, you said, well, I'll talk more about that when I get to the library. So in that book, you actually stopped, and then, then you picked it back up again, like as if you had gone to the library to work or something like that, and I think that's funny, because it's almost like you're keeping this constant dialogue with the reader going,
Yep, exactly.
Well, thank you for coming on. I'm sorry about the glitch in the beginning. I hope everything works out for you, and I hope you sell a lot of books. On Amazon, you can download it Kindle-wise, right?
Correct, yes.
I don't know anything about that, so explain it to people who are like me, technically warped.
Basically, when you can download it to your Kindle, since Nook and and other e-readers are not part of Amazon. They can't download to it. But Kindle, it is owned obviously by Amazon. You just go into it, you click buy, and it downloads to your device. If you have a computer, it can download to your computer through Amazon as well. If they are doing a program where Nook is downloading a Amazon program onto it, and you can download the books through it, but I'm not for sure if they've actually launched that yet. They were talking about it, and I'm not for sure if they're getting ready to do that. So, but the rest of it is able to download to your computer, and you just read it through there. And I just can't autograph anything on your computer. I don't think you'd want me to. So
Right. So if they want an autographed copy, they can contact you on Facebook or on your site, right?
Oh gosh, yes. Just give me a shout out. Say, hey, can I get a copy of your book autographed? Just give me your address, and I will most gladly send it to you.
Okay. And again, it's The Werewolf, The Librarian, and I. It's on Amazon, and it's a paperback, or you can download it on Kindle, and it's cheaper, I think, if you download it on Kindle. But if you want to get a signed copy, just contact Erin on her site and give them that name for your site again.
Sure. It's
HTTP.
Oh, my site?
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Okay. It's http:// Erin Rambeau, ERINRAMBEAU.webs.com /. And it'll
Very
be
cool.
you can go there, and you can send me messages, or you can leave me messages, either one.
Okay, we're going to be right back because our next guest is waiting, and we're going to, when I'm in the break, I'm going to say goodbye to Erin and hello to A.J. Walkely. Thank you so much for being on. Hang in here, guys. We've got another song for you, and it's called One Thing's for Certain. Again, it's Robert Wagnick's, and I did give you his site, robertwagnicks.com, and I think you're going to like it, so we'll be right back.
To Jurassic Park.
Well, hello there. This is Stan, inviting you to listen to Jurassic Park, where we dig up the old bones of rock and roll, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, and then carefully rebury them. Thursday nights, 8 Eastern, on GCR.
There's nothing new under the sun. The river runs through as it's always done. But one thing's for certain, I'm sitting here hurting while she's having fun. What did I say? What did I do to drive her away? I haven't a clue. But one thing's for certain, I'm sitting here hurting, lonely and blue. Oh, I see her
welcome back to Mo Banshee's Lair on GCR. We are rocking your world tonight. That was Robert Wagniks again, and it's robertwagniks.com if you want to find his music, which I thought was really awesome. And our next guest is here. She is a journalist who is a novelist too. She writes. She's an author. And the book that caught my attention was Vuto, or I think it's pronounced Vuto, a novel about Africa, women, and the Peace Corps. A.J. Walkely, welcome to the Lair.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. The book, you're a journalist. Who do you write for? Tell everybody about yourself.
Absolutely. So I currently blog for the Huffington Post. I do a lot of bisexual activism and LGBT activism as well. So a lot of my posts on Huffington are about the LGBT community and specifically bisexual-related topics as well. And I'm also the author of 2 books that are currently on the market, Queer Greer and Choice. And the third novel that caught your eye is actually, it's pronounced Vuto, and it's scheduled for publication later this summer.
Okay, and it's not published yet, right? Because I've been trying to find it, and it's not. I was brought to attention through Huffington Post when I saw it. The Peace Corps. You were a member of the Peace Corps?
Yes, I was a house volunteer in Malawi, Africa. I went into the Peace Corps in 2007, a week after I graduated from college.
It's not for people who are wearing blinders, is it?
Oh my gosh, no. I really went into the Peace Corps very idealistic, very naive about the organization itself and what kind of experience I was going to have on the ground as a volunteer.
Yeah, I just want to share a short story so people understand how I am. I used to pinch hit as a pastor, a Presbyterian minister, and we had a family that was really happy that their son and daughter decided to be missionaries, and I wasn't so happy because they had children. And when they came to me, they were very upset because, as it turned out, there was rioting. This was during the late 70s, and of course, they were scared to death. Their son and daughter-in-law and children weren't going to be there, and I got a little bit huffy with them and said they had no goddamn business being there with children. When you take a choice to get into missionary work or the Peace Corps or something like that, you don't have children, you don't drag family into it. This is something you do on your own. You don't put your family in jeopardy, and it can be dangerous, right?
It absolutely can. The instances, especially for women in a lot of the countries that the Peace Corps plays, I think there are a lot of unknown statistics about the number of sexual assaults and rapes and just assaults in general, especially on female volunteers in a lot of these countries. And even on top of that, when you go into the Peace Corps, you're given a lot of vaccinations and medicine. I was on doxycycline for malaria, and I had like 20 shots when I reached Malawi as well for a variety of different potential diseases. And even with all those precautions taken, you're not guaranteed that you're going to come out of that situation completely healthy. And I'll give you an example. My roommate, actually, during training with the Peace Corps, her name was Megan, and we got very close during training, and we ended up being stationed at completely different areas of Malawi. I was in the central part of the country, and she was stationed in the south. And within the first year of her service in the south of Malawi, she contracted some kind of virus. It's unknown. I think there's a thought that she might have contracted it from some water or some, contaminated fruit or something like that. And she came down with this virus that essentially has attacked her autoimmune system. She is a 28-year-old girl with the body of an 80-year-old woman now, And when she came back to the United States, she was met with nothing but red tape. She can't work. She can barely make any money with, the workers' comp that she's able to get. She can only sit up for, I think, or even stand for a few hours at a time before she's too tired. She has cyclical vomiting syndrome. She has problems, retaining memories. She has so many symptoms from just this one virus she contracted. And the United States government, honestly, has done little to nothing to help her. And she's only one of hundreds, if not thousands, of returned Peace Corps volunteers who have suffered similar issues, with head injuries or viruses or diseases that they've contracted. And there's a lot of a huge issue and a big loophole in the organization that once you're out of your country of service and you're back in the States, that you're almost forgotten about.
Yeah, it's kind of like, and I don't want to speak badly of the Peace Corps, okay, but it's kind of like once they use you, then they lose you. And, these countries, we're talking about third world countries, and we are, I don't want to say we're antiseptic over here, but we're not accustomed to those diseases anymore. The ones that, we can be exposed to over there. I mean, AIDS is still very active over there, and it's easy to look at these people and say, what the hell is wrong with them? They can't feed themselves, but they're still making babies. But then I look at people here in the United States and say the same thing. You can't feed yourself, but you're busy humping everything you can get your hands on. So, I don't know how it works. How did the book come about?
Well, when I was on the ground in my village, I was witness to one of the most vivid memories from my service, which happened midway through. And the village nurse who I lived next to, who was kind of my right-hand woman, if you will, she called to me in the middle of the night and told me there was a teenager at the health center that we were stationed at who was in the middle of giving birth. And I went to see this happen. We didn't have very many supplies in the village. It was a very crude health center, just brick and mortar and not many supplies. All we really had was water, which was a good thing. But when I went into this room, I just saw this young girl. I think she was about 17 years old. And it was just her alone on this cot with a sarong, what they call a chitenje in the Malawian language of Chichewa. She just had a chitenje covering her, and she was just writhing around on this cot by herself. And I asked the nurse, where's her family? Where's her mother? Where's her husband? And the nurse literally laughed in my face. And because in Malawi, the women, it's a sign of strength to go through the birthing process, and you're not supposed to have anyone with you. It was bizarre for the nurse to understand American or United States customs or just first world country customs where it's natural for a woman to have her mother, her mother-in-law, everyone she would want in that room with her.
A brass band standing there taking pictures of you, spread eagle, with everybody, people, strangers walking past the room going, push, push, push. It's totally different, the American experience.
Exactly. So for me, from my very westernized perspective, I was just in awe of this. And the whole situation and the memory I have of it is just so raw. Everything was just very raw. That's the best word I can use to describe it. And when the woman gave this woman, she was a woman essentially. She was actually giving birth to, I think, her second or third child, even though she was 17 years old, just because custom and tradition is so different there than it is here. But as soon as she gave birth to this child, within 5 minutes, she was standing up and getting ready to take her child back to her home. And this, it was insane to me that she was that strong that, here, we could be in the hospital for days, if not weeks, depending on what's going on. And she was just up and gone. And I remember then turning to the nurse again and asking, okay, is she going to now bring the child to see its father? And again, I was almost kind of snickered at, and she's like, of course not. The father is not going to acknowledge that baby until and if the baby lasts 2 weeks. If the baby dies within those first 2 weeks, only the women in the village and the baby's mother will bury it and mourn it. And this custom really struck me as something that I could barely understand. It's just so foreign from my perspective and from, I think, a lot of people's perspectives in the United States, if not just the first world in general. And that whole experience was just kind of percolating in my mind since I returned from the Peace Corps. And it was during National Novel Writing Month, which is every November. There's this organization that holds this contest of sorts. It's just a personal challenge for people to write a 50,000-word novel in 30 days during the month of November. And it was during November of 2011 that I decided that this was the story I wanted to try to tackle now. And it kind of just kept flowing. It was amazing. I know there are a lot of writers that I've heard talking about having a muse, and this was one of the first times as a writer that I really felt like this book was almost flowing through some higher power than me, because it just flowed so easily onto the page, and I just felt like I was meant to write it.
Well, you're kind of like me. You're for the guy that's on the low totem pole. You're always for the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
When people here. We really don't understand customs from other countries.
No.
The mortality rate in that particular country is really bad, and as I said, the AIDS, HIV and AIDS infection has drained the population, and then you have babies being born into this. They kind of, it reminds you of the old Genghis Khan, where they took him and put him in the freezing water. If he lived, he lived. If he didn't, he didn't. That kind of thing. Because I guess they feel if it lives 2 weeks, it's strong, then I'll claim it. If not, it's
right.
The wife's fault. In your book, and I definitely, it's not it's not out yet. It is published, but it's not out yet.
Oh, no,
it's not
published.
Right?
It's being edited right now, and my publisher has promised me it will be out this summer at some point. So within the next few months.
If people go to www.kickstarter.com, projects, and then /AJ Walkely, you're going to find it. What I did was I just Googled Vuto, a novel about Africa, and it came up, that the article came up. Let's talk about, she's banished from her family, from her town, because she had the audacity to call for her mother, which is a no-no. And your character and, well, your main character and her end up running, right? They're like on the lam trying to get to safety?
Right, so actually the reason that Vuto, which is the name of the protagonist, or one of the protagonists, the reason she is ultimately banished is because she forces her husband, a village elder, to acknowledge her dead child before she buries her. And that is completely contrary to tradition, and leads to her banishment. And a Peace Corps volunteer by the name of Samantha witnesses this entire ordeal, follows Vuto as she walks out of the village, and offers to take her in to help her. And that evening, Solomon, Vuto's husband, learns that Vuto hasn't exactly left the village limits completely, goes to Samantha's hut to find her. And in the struggle that ensues, Samantha accidentally stabs him and kills him, and the two women end up having to go on the run.
Mm-hmm. When I looked at the information about a book, it said A.J. Walkley has written a book that gets at the heart of the United States Peace Corps and the idealism behind the volunteers that often go into third world countries completely unprepared.
Right.
So your character is as unprepared as you were when you got there?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yes, the character of Samantha, I tried to imbue in her a lot of the characteristics that I personally felt like I had going into the Peace Corps, as well as some of the volunteers I served with. And that's just an overwhelming idealism, the fact that we're going and we want to help these people and we think that we're prepared to. You know, when I went into the Peace Corps, I literally had just graduated from college the week before. I was going in as a health volunteer because I was very interested in the AIDS epidemic and wanted to educate people about how to protect themselves from contracting HIV. But I didn't have any health background. I was an English major. And while we're trained in the Peace Corps for about a month, it's not 2 months with including homestay, 2 months of training isn't going to make a liberal arts college major an expert in the health field, especially in a country that she was not born and raised in. So even, right. And I can give you a great example. When we had graduated from training and we were being sent to our villages, we were each given a first aid kit. And we were basically told, you can only use this for yourself. You know, we don't want to get into like any liability with you treating anyone because you're obviously not a health professional. And that seems so right. strange. I was like, if somebody is going to come up to my door, you know, with bleeding from the leg, am I really going to say, I'm sorry, I have supplies, but I can only use them for me? No, of course not. And the fact that I felt like my hands were tied in that sense, and just the fact that being a health volunteer and being there to educate people about how not to contract HIV, it became very clear from certain traditions and certain ways of life there that wasn't necessarily possible. There's this custom called wife inheritance, for instance, in Malawi and most likely in other areas of Africa, where if a woman's husband dies, she will be inherited by another male member of his family. And if the husband happened to have died from an HIV-related issue, it's most likely that the wife will have contracted it as well and will be carrying HIV. So if she's been inherited as a wife by another male family member, she's likely going to pass that on to him and his wife or other wives as well. And the alternate is that if she's not inherited, she's going to become a beggar. She'll be on the street. So how does a 22-year-old combat something like that? You can't. I really felt like I was there, and yet what I was there for wasn't necessarily what I thought I was there for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know, there's no way to help them because your hands are tied, so basically what you've become is just an observer of the whole half-assed system. And I'll share a story. Matthew was in the Marines, and the Zaire massacres broke out, and the Marines were sent there specifically to protect American citizens there who weren't smart enough to get out when they could, and they were told under no circumstances are you to get involved. And there was a man who was carrying 2 toddlers, and they were emaciated, and he asked Matt for an empty water bottle just so he could use it to get water for the children. And Matthew had to sneak it to him. And a few days later, this man came to him with a piece of wood that was beautifully carved, 2 pieces of wood actually, of fertility goddesses, and he didn't want to take them. He says, no, sell them. You know, you sell them for money. And the guy said, what you gave me was life. You gave me something to put water in for my children. When you're faced with real human beings and they're in that condition, it changes your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How long were you there?
I was there less than a year. The situation in my village, people actually, talking about the vulnerability, especially of female volunteers, a few months in, and things started disappearing from my home when I left. Pieces of laundry, little decorations that I had in the windows that somebody likely needed to actually be inside to take. And I started feeling very, very unsafe. The next closest volunteer to me was a 10-mile bike ride up a very steep mountain that took hours upon hours to actually do. And I felt like if something happened, if somebody came into my hut in the middle of the night, there would be nothing that I could do. I had a very small Swiss Army knife on me that likely was not going to protect me all that well. And I honestly started to have panic attacks at my site. And when I went back to the capital to speak with the Peace Corps about what we could do, because I know I wasn't the only one experiencing this. I had a friend who was stationed just a few villages away from mine who was experiencing similar issues. And so when I went there and I asked, I was like, is there any way we could be closer together? Is there any way we could even be stationed in the same village together? Because I felt like we would end up being able to help the village more as a duo than just as a single solitary volunteers. And I was told, no, you can either go back to your village or you can go home altogether. You can go back to the United States. And it was such a difficult decision for me because I had been dreaming of being a Peace Corps volunteer for years, ever since I heard about it when I was in probably middle school. That was my goal. As soon as I graduated from college, that's what I had to do. And for me to be put into a situation where it was either my health and safety or fulfilling this dream, and to make that very difficult decision, honestly, it was the most difficult decision I've ever had to make in my life. But I ended up coming back to the United States because I really did not feel safe, and I knew that if I stayed any longer, I could be putting myself in further jeopardy.
I'm going to ask you a delicate question. Were you ever attacked?
I was never personally attacked. However, one of the things that we were told as volunteers to do in order to save the very small stipend we were given each week to buy food, if we needed to get anywhere, we were urged to hitchhike. And this boggled my mind. I refused to do this. Older volunteers actually came to all of the female volunteers in my training group and told us, we know that you're being told to hitchhike, but don't do so without a male volunteer with you, because you never know what's going to happen when you're in somebody's vehicle alone. And just the fact that was something that we were being told we should do by the Peace Corps itself, I did not feel like I was being protected. And while I personally did not, thankfully did not suffer any attacks other than having my goods stolen, I could see how it wouldn't be very hard for that to have happened.
Right. If they can get in there when you're not home, they can get in there when you are home. This is a scary situation, and I have to tell you, I'm kind of shocked that the Peace Corps didn't have people doubled up, because that's just a prescription for disaster. Your friend got sick, it's terrible. So how much of your experience did you put into the novel?
I would say, the very first chapter of the novel, when we meet Vuto, she's giving birth to her third child. And that whole scene is very much inspired by the story I told you before of how when I witnessed a teenager giving birth in the village myself. Other than that, and simply the descriptions of the scenery and the country and the food, it's complete fiction.
And when you got home, did your mother look at you and say, if you ever go there again, I'm going to kick you right in the arse?
In as many words, pretty much, yeah. And I actually found out years after I got back, just how nervous she really was. And she never wrote to me and said how scared she was, but I found out later that she was a nervous wreck the whole time I was gone.
Yeah, for real, for real. How long did it take you to write this book?
So I started writing it November 2011, and I submitted my final manuscript just last month to my publisher.
Wow.
So that's about a year now.
And I asked our other guest, Erin Rambeau, about it. Who is the publisher that's handling your book?
Yes, I'm being published by Rocket Science Productions.
Rocket Science. And did they tell you, oh, no, you can't mention this because, we'll get sued or you'll get sued? I mean, how much input did they have on your book and what was in it? Because you're not giving the Peace Corps a glowing reference for young people.
It's true. Well, honestly, my publisher is my biggest supporter. I love them to death. They published Queer Greer last year as well. And I actually will be having a disclaimer at the beginning of the novel that basically says that this novel is completely fiction and should not be taken as a critique on the U.S. Peace Corps in any way, shape, or form. I really want to try to separate my own feelings about the Peace Corps from the way that certain things are portrayed in the book. While there are definitely some similarities and crossovers, it truly is a completely fictional tale.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about Malawi. Is that it?
Yep.
Do they speak English there?
A lot of people in the village do. It was actually colonized by the British, back in the day, but they're and they have several languages that are spoken, but the native tongue is a language called Chichewa, which is also spoken in parts of Zambia as well. And it was a language that I learned how to speak when I got there. And it's honestly a beautiful language. I love speaking it. I can't speak it fluently.
They didn't even teach you the language? They didn't even teach you the language before you got there?
They did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first applied and was accepted, I got a bunch of vocabulary books to study before going into training, and then during training we had 2 months of very intensive language training included there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. David Livingstone had been there in 1859. Did you have Livingstone type of grandeur, thoughts of grandeur? Oh, my God, I'm following Livingstone. Oh, my God, I'm like one of the early, pioneers. Did you have that kind of romantic idea at first going there?
I think at first I definitely had a romanticized idea. I mean, but as soon as I stepped off the plane and when we were being bused to our training facility, that romanticism went out the window because I very vividly remember that there were a bunch of shops across the road that we were driving down, and my most vivid memory there was that every other shop seemed to be a coffin-making shop. And there were coffins stretched out in front of each of them, and many times the coffins were very, very small in size, so likely for children or even babies. And as soon as I went by those and saw those from the windows of the bus, the romanticism was gone.
Yeah, I hate to say it this way, but the smell, the minute you get off the plane and you realize deodorant is not the first thing they use after a shower or the mud hole or whatever, that kind of just turns me off. If people smell bad, I can't deal with that, that's just the way it is for me. The book, how long is it, it's for a read, about how many pages?
Well, I'm not exactly sure because it's still being edited and formatted, but it's probably going to be around 300 pages or a little less.
Mm-hmm. Usually this kind of thing when, other authors I've had on, has anybody picked up on it and said, hey, this would make a great movie?
I've definitely heard that from several of my readers so far. I have a team of beta readers, especially, who go through and give me notes during my own editing process. And a lot of people are already saying, yes, I want to see this on the screen. You should get Jennifer Lawrence to play the volunteer. You should have so-and-so to play so-and-so. So, yeah, I started to hear a little buzz about that, too.
Yeah, because it is. We just don't seem to understand that in other countries, women's liberation hasn't happened. They're still second class, actually third class. After the water buffalo, then it's your turn, because at least the water buffalo can do a lot of heavy manual work that a woman can't, And a lot of these third world countries, girls are not, babies are not a big bonus, and they're too stupid to figure out that the men are the ones making the babies and whether they're boys or girls. So there's that stigma too, they have 2 or 3 girls, and then they're on the losing end of the stick too. You look like you're so young in your pictures. May I ask how old you are?
Yes, I'm 28 years old.
You're 28 years old. You do not look 28, and you were,
thank
what,
you.
20? You were 20 when you went there? Something like
I was
that?
about
22?
21, 22.
Yeah, so this is fresh in your memory. Do you still have contact with the people that you made friends with there?
I still have a lot of contact, especially over social media, with my volunteers in my training class, and my friend Megan, who I spoke about earlier, who is undergoing a lot of health issues still as a result of her time in Malawi.
Mm-hmm. The book is told in like the first person narrative. Vuto and Samantha, the Peace Corps volunteer, they are telling the story as you go through. They're telling you what's happening to them, right?
Exactly, and there are actually a couple of other volunteers who have chapters dedicated to them as well. And I love writing in the style. It's how I wrote my book Choice as well, having different characters' perspectives for every chapter, because it really gives me as a writer a way to get a full, almost 360-degree view of everything that's happening in the story. You're not just getting one person's perspective. You're seeing what's happening from multiple perspectives at once.
Mm-hmm. Where are you going to be selling this? Do you know how you're going to be selling this book? Is it going to be like on Amazon? Is it going to be, where is it going to be?
Yeah, primarily, it'll definitely, as soon as it's published, it'll be on Amazon. It'll be on my publisher site, rocketscienceproductions.com, and it will also be on barnesandnoble.com. And then after that, we'll be trying to get it into some independent bookstores, or the few bookstores that remain.
Yes. I keep saying libraries are going to come back because people just can't afford to keep going out and buying books, I mean, you go to the Barnes and Nobles, for crying out loud, and the book is $40, So I think libraries will be carrying it too.
I hope so.
Of course, yeah, I hope so. If it went to a like an audio book, who would you like to hear narrating it, reading it?
Oh, wow, that is a great question. It would have to be, I would like it to be a female with a very, very strong, distinct voice. But that's hard. Part of me wants to
Glenn
say, like,
Close, maybe Glenn Close.
Oh,
she
Glenn
comes
Close
to mind.
would be great.
She's got that kind of voice,
Yeah, I could go with Glenn Close. I don't know if she does audiobook readings, but...
Most of the big actors and actresses do. I mean, you might get somebody like Jeremy Irons or somebody to read it. He's got that weird voice with a little bit of a lisp, but then it's a man telling a woman's story, so that doesn't work. Scooby is saying Kate Mulgrew. I don't know who that is, but
I don't know who that is either.
Obvious. It's an actress, I assume, you know, so it seems so TV and movie, you know. We're going to go to break for a minute and play my last selection of song before we, you know, get the final information that we need from AJ Walkely about her book, and tell them the name of the book again.
It's called Vuto, V-U-T-O.
Vuto. And we'll be right back. This is GCR, and I'm Mo Banshee, and we'll be right back.
This is Michelle Tomlinson, the Scream Queen, and I listen to GameCon Radio. Why? Because it rocks.
Do 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 do.
And welcome back to Mo Banshee's Lair. The song you listened to again was Robert. Oh, hang on, I gotta bring it up. Robert's site, and I think he pronounced it Wagnex. It's WUAGNEUX, and he has a lot of different music on there, and I really liked it, and I thought I would share it with you tonight. Our guest is A.J. Walkely, and she's written a book called Vuto, and it's about a woman in Africa who ends up being on the run, basically, because she forced her her husband to acknowledge her third dead baby. And when we think of that, we think it's like, oh, that's just a story, but that's the real deal, right?
This is, it's not. I'm not exactly sure how prevalent it is across the country, but I know that there are definitely certain villages where it is a practice that is still in place, yes.
Yeah. Their president is a woman, so maybe things are changing, maybe things are kind of, changing, but in those small little villages, it's just like any other small town. People are people, and they hang on to those traditions and that kind of thing. I hope your book really does great. Anything else you want to share with us about the book?
Well, I'm very excited about it. Like I said before, I have 2 books out already, Choice and Queer Greer, and I have very high hopes for this one. I think it's a tale that will appeal to a wide variety of people, a larger audience than maybe my first 2 books did. And I'm just really looking forward to getting it out there and hearing what people say and what people think about it.
What are the other 2 books about? So you can plug them while you're here anyway. So let's get them plugged.
All right, sure. My book, Choice, is told in 2 parts. The first half tells the story of a teenager in high school who finds herself pregnant as a sophomore and chooses to abort her child. And the second half of the book tells what that same character's life would have been like if she had kept the baby. And I tried to keep my own biases about pro-choice versus anti-choice out of it. However, I really try to leave it up to the reader to decide which would have been the better decision for our protagonist. And my book, Queer Greer, tells the story of another teenager in high school who is trying to come to grips with her bisexuality upon moving to a new town.
Mm-hmm. And something, young people, everybody, I didn't, but most teenagers, they all have questions. Nobody knows what their rapper is in the beginning. Nobody understands what they're feeling. It's, because you're spending the first, 15 years of your life just getting your feet on the ground, learning to walk, learning what your family thinks is right, social conventions and all that. And then when you throw that in high school, Jesus, what a mess. It's not an easy thing to be a kid these days.
It's true. And I went through my own coming out process, coming out as bisexual, and I really wrote the book to try to help other kids who are going through the same kind of evolution and trying to find themselves. Because when I was going through it, I didn't have a book to turn to. There still are very few books, right, especially for bisexual teens. So I wanted to add another one into the mix in the hopes that it might help somebody and give them a little comfort to show them that they're not alone. There are other people who are going through these same kinds of issues.
How old were you when you came out?
I was I came out first to the Gay Straight Alliance at my college my sophomore year, my junior year. It took me a while for me to really come to grips with it, and later over Thanksgiving that year, I came out to my mother for the first time, and It was a very heart-wrenching and difficult process, even though both of my parents are very accepting and open and pretty liberal. You never know how anyone's going to react when they hear that. Unfortunately, we're still living in a day and age where people could react negatively. So, like anyone else coming out, it's a very stressful, definitely stressful, and possibly a little terrifying of an experience.
Well, from a parent's point of view, it makes things harder for the kid, and you're like, Jesus, things aren't bad enough and hard enough. Now, you've got this to deal with too, and it's from a parent's point of view, it is, you kind of wonder, did I do something wrong? Why don't they know one way or another? Because not a lot of people do. Like I said, when you're learning to walk, chew bubble gum, and pat your belly, pat your head, all at the same time, and then somebody finally says, what's your sexual preference? And you look at them with these doe eyes, it gets a little dicey. It's not easy for kids, especially today with all the media and everything. When I was young, gay, what's that? I never had a problem. I had gay friends, but I never had a problem with it until it started becoming an issue, and then I had to say, well, what's the big deal? There's always been gay people. There's always been bisexual people. Back to Rome. What the heck is the big deal?
Exactly.
And I still don't know what the big deal is, but obviously somebody thinks it's a big deal, right? I don't know. I want to thank you for coming on. This was lovely. I wish you all the best things with your book. And when you write your next one or this one comes out, let me know and we'll put you back on again, okay?
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. And I'm going to let you go and close out my show. And God bless you. And I'll get a hold of you on Facebook, okay?
Sounds good. Have a great night.
You too. Night-night. That was lovely. What a lovely young lady. Again, because I did have a problem in the beginning, I just want to remind everybody that it's really, really hot out there. Summer is here. So please, everybody, be mindful of animals in cars, children in cars. Check your elderly. Our elderly, they think, oh, when I was 20, I used to sit out in 100 degrees. It never bothered me. And they're not 20 anymore. And so you have to go and physically check your elderly. If you see children or animals in a car, there's no adult in the car with them, report it to somebody. Don't wait until something terrible happens. I want to thank both our guests for being on. Erin Rambeau, whose book, The Werewolf, the Librarian, and I, is on Amazon, and A.J. Walkely, whose book, Vuto, is coming out this summer, and I want to thank them, and I wish them all the best. I hope everybody has a great week. I'll be back here next week with the great-granddaughter of the unsinkable Molly Brown of Titanic fame. She is the direct descendant, the great-granddaughter, and we're going to talk to her about her very famous family member, Molly Brown. With that, I want to thank everybody for listening, and God bless you all. I love you all. Good night.
Where over the rainbow birds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow while
Thank you for visiting me at my lair. You can always contact me at www.asylumsgate.com. Again, thank you for visiting, and God bless you and yours.